All units, please respond. We got a 7467. Two idiots spilling the tea about their neighbors.
Welcome to episode 147.
Ancient aliens, galaxies, and ghosts.
There goes the neighborhood.
So stupid.
So stupid. Hey, Starry Bougie Crew, Black Hole Dwellin' CRN Trolls. Shout out to our listeners in New Jersey and Illinois.
Got a question, comment, or a buck wild neighbor stories? Hit us up on 239-300-7276.
If you would like to sponsor our show, send us an email at info.crazyrichneighbors.com to inquire about opportunities, which bound, by the way. And thank you to our sponsors here at Podcast Junkies Studio in Boca Raton, Florida. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and be sure to check out our full episodes and see our mugs on YouTube, babies. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Smash it.
Share us with your friends.
Yes.
So joining us over Zoom today are Leslie and Stephen Shaw, who are experts in ancient history and how it relates to UFO or UAP phenomenon, whatever you prefer to call it. They've also authored the book Who They Are and What They're Up To. Welcome, guys.
Hi, Tiffany and Mia.
Hi.
Hi, good
ladies.
afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
How is it in Boca Raton? We went there on our honeymoon.
Oh,
Didn't we?
are you serious? Wow. Congratulations and still going strong, lovebirds.
Yes, that's
That's
us.
right.
It always pays to have common hobbies, right? Like alien obsessions. It
Yes,
would
that
be
does help.
odd if one was obsessed and the other one wasn't, right?
That's what
It'd be
keeps our
different,
marriage
yeah.
going.
Even worse if one was possessed than the other one.
Yeah,
Oh,
You know,
that
I've
was
seen some
crazier,
real
yeah.
life examples of that.
Oh, ouch. That would not be good.
Well, Boca is thriving, so you should come down here and
Yeah.
meet us in person. I mean, everybody else on the planet is here right now. The traffic is bananas, which is why I was a few minutes late. I even left extra time, and it still didn't help.
Yeah, it was
Oh, I'm
crazy.
sorry. We're from LA, so we know about traffic too.
Oh, well, we
Yeah.
love
Does
LA.
Boca have the Riz?
Boca definitely has the
Oh,
res,
yes,
honey.
honey.
We're here, honey.
Yeah.
If they are any,
Example.
example of that.
Oh, thanks,
For sure.
guys.
Oh, thanks.
So, going to your book title, who exactly are they, and what are they up to?
Well, the way it connects to ancient history is for a long time, we believed that the flood myths of all these different cultures all over the planet really was based in fact. And then the asteroid crater that we surmised happened was found and proven to be around the time period we said. So the Great Flood really did happen. And we think that was an enormous turning point for the human race. And it happened 13,000 years ago, wherein the Hiawatha asteroid hit the Hiawatha Glacier in northern Greenland. It caused 2,000-foot tsunamis worldwide, rushing to every coast all around the world.
In the
Holy,
Northern Hemisphere
wow.
primarily.
holy
Yep,
smokes.
It wiped out the mastodon and the mammoth, the woolly mammoth. It wiped out the American horse, the American camel,
Oh,
dire wolf.
The Clovis people.
and the Clovis people of North America, all wiped out at the same time. And then they discovered, I heard about 2 decades ago, I heard that they found nanodiamonds in the soil of 13,000 years ago. And nanodiamonds form in no other way except in asteroid impacts or meteor impacts. The dust that they bring into the atmosphere with them superheats and turns into these microscopic little round diamonds. And once that they were found, then we knew for a fact there was an asteroid crater somewhere, but everybody surmised it must be under the ice sheet. And sure enough, it was. But the recent shrinking of the Greenland ice sheet has caused the opportunity to discover the crater in 2016.
And this crater is about the size of downtown Washington, D.C.
what? Is
And
this
this-
documented online?
This is all it's all documented in books.
Yes, the Hiawatha
Actually,
asteroid
Nova has
impact
done
crater.
stuff on it. It's very well documented scientifically.
Yes,
We found this about 25 years ago. We knew that we found it was the
the nanodiamonds.
yeah
were
the
found,
and the Ucello,
the Ucello horizon
the
and
Ucello
the
horizon,
highest
which
boundary.
is about an inch thick of soil that shows that at one point 13,000 years ago the entire northern hemisphere of countries, at least 4 different continents and 10 different countries, the forests were on fire at the same time.
Yes, it laid down a charcoal layer that covered this enormous region. And we think that was also caused by the asteroid. As it comes through the atmosphere, it causes these air bursts of fire. And as it was coming through our atmosphere, we think it ignited all of the forests in,
That's that's
at the
that's what
same
it
time.
that's what it would have done. That's what it would have
And
done.
that's where, so we found this layer of 13,000-year-old soil. That's what was found quite a while ago. And then that's the Ucella horizon, the charcoal layer. And when they found nanodiamonds in it, we knew what we were looking for. Just that
Wow.
was took us a while to find it.
Well,
Yes,
this is
they
very
find yeah.
interesting.
It is so interesting. Now, you mentioned the Clovis people. Who were they and where did they live?
They were the people in North America of roughly, that were alive and well 13,000 years ago before the asteroid hit. And they were wiped out at the same time. They were, tool building people from thousands of years ago.
You can still find arrowheads that are very
Hmm.
indicative of the Clovis people. They had a different way of doing arrowheads than, let's say,
European
the
arrowheads are
European
different. Yeah.
arrowheads
Hmm.
or the Navajos or the Hopis. They had a very specific way of doing it. They used flints and obsidians and things
Wow.
such as
Oh,
that.
obsidians.
And
Wow.
so they were they were kind of like nomadic, and they were definitely hunter gatherer people. They were not, they weren't, for instance, like, building cities and, harvesting crops like we do today.
Wow.
So they were here and then they were gone. And the nice thing is
Mhm.
we can track all these things together now. We can connect the 1,200 different flood myths that have been found around the world.
Yes, there were 1,200 separate cultures that had a flood myth in their most ancient lore,
Hmm.
pointing to a worldwide shared experience, which this certainly would have been, because it would have sent tsunamis all around the world. It makes the perfect sense why why everybody would have a flood myth, and it's why our histories never go past back further than 13,000 years. Almost all of human written down history rarely, very, if ever, precedes 13,000-year mark, and now we know why, because
Fascinating.
the tsunamis would have
Correct.
scraped humanity off the planet
Whew.
almost, and
Damn.
we know we went down to a population of about 10,000
Yes,
individuals at one
that
point.
is the fascinating thing. Myself having been in medicine for many years and also having a interest in the human brain and genetics, we do know for a fact that because of, studying the human genome and, with the CRISPR technology, we know that the human population about 13,000 years ago was reduced to about 10,000 total individuals on the face of the planet. It's called what's called a genetic bottleneck. And so this current 8 billion people on the world currently have regenerated from only a population base of 10,000, which in a sense makes us quite a bit less genetically diverse.
Wow.
Also, the
Right.
other thing that we found too, which is also very interesting, is that in all these flood myths, there was foreknowledge. There was
Yes, they
always,
yeah.
always a year to two at least of foreknowledge that there's going to be a winter like you've never seen in your lives that will last for hundreds, if not 1,000 years, which is also verifiable in the soil.
Or they'd tell them there's an enormous flood coming and build
Correct.
build an ark or a boat, or go to high ground if very high ground was available to them. But they were all warned. Sometimes it was by a god, sometimes by a disembodied voice. But the stories all talk about a warning that went out worldwide before the event happened. What we think is that prior to 13,000 years ago, mankind had developed further than we currently believe, current mainstream archaeology believes. Human beings have been on the planet for 120,000 years at least.
As Homo sapiens sapien.
Yes, and then, but mainstream archaeology would have you believe that we sat around for 107,000 years without doing much, not even inventing the house,
Right.
you know, and that makes no sense to us. And so what we think is that we became a fairly advanced population of human beings prior to the Hiawatha impact. We saw the asteroid coming, and we did various things to survive. One of the things they did is kind of like in the movie Deep Impact. We think they built these underground arcs deep underground to survive. or they also escaped into space. We believe that they had a space program, not unlike our own, but possibly slightly more advanced. We think they're the ones that build the pyramids and the structures on Mars,
What
the
sort of
things that have been found on the moon and on the other side of the moon and Phobos too, you know.
what sort of data points to there being a space program?
Well, like I say, this is what we surmise because we believe they escaped into space to a certain extent to other places in our solar system. So what the people who these they people are, essentially it's us that separated from us 13,000 years ago and has since mutated into various different forms.
We also know I read some scientific paperwork done way back in 1969, even back in the late 60s. We had the technology to build massive underground tunnels and infuse the rock as we were going. So
Right.
what we believe these arcs are really basically really just underground cities. You
Yes.
think about it, we're doing the same thing today. The Chinese have been doing this for over 1,000 years. They have total underground cities they built where people are happy as clams
Yes, and we
because
found
it's
Darren
thermal
Kuyu
controlled.
and
Yeah.
lots of underground.
Yeah, there's
They would
lots to
have
support it.
power down there. They would have geothermal power, and once you have power, you have electricity. You can grow anything you want. And we think that this is where the human population separated into two. The people that escaped the disaster and kept their technology, and the rest of us that were left on the surface to survive the cataclysm and later devolve into like barbarians and cannibals and
That was
stuff.
probably me.
And and then we think that they took pity on us at some point and came back because most of these flood legends also have a god that comes later after the
Teacher.
flood that teaches archaeology and math again and how, not to be cannibals and how to
Oh,
grow food
gosh.
again.
What led
So
you? This is so fascinating, but and deep and way over my head. I don't know about yours, Steve, but
Well,
I am
said
here to
I
learn.
was a cannibal peasant when that all happened.
But what led you all down this path of UFOs and ancient history?
Well, part of it was that by about the age of 30, I had been so confused by things that had happened to my family and myself since I was 3 years of age
Oh,
that I
spill
that
the
I really
tea.
wanted to start to get some answers as far as um, things that just don't make any sense, but multiple people witnessed them. As an example, when I was 18, there were several things that were happening to my father, my sister, and myself, and also my mother and my brother in a different location. We had a week that was just of completely unusual things that were happening in two different locations. The first night, my dad, this is 1979, January of 1979, so I was 18. First night, my dad went to sleep in his bedroom, and when he woke up the next day at breakfast, he said, Stephen, my door is open and closed. My closet door is open and closed on me during the night. And I said, okay, Dad, you probably just forgot or something. I didn't make much of it. The next night, my dad was doing some reading in the living room, and around 9:30 at night, he came into my room and said, Stephen, am I hearing things? And I said, okay, what, Dad? So we said, I'm hearing the silver bell. I said, okay. So I went into the living room, and sure enough, there was a silver bell being rung inside the 2x4 wall next to the chimney. And we were both thinking, well, that's a silver bell. I said, yes. Well, let's get my sister. So I got my sister, and she came out. My sister's 5 years younger than me, so she's 13. And she said, that's a silver bell. And we're thinking, well,
in the
okay.
wall.
Okay, well,
Right.
we can't all be hearing this at the same time and hallucinating. So he banged on the wall, looked up the chimney, looked up the flue, and it went on for about 15 minutes or so, and then it stopped. The next morning, we called my mom, who was living 350 miles away in a house that we were building because we were cabinet makers and contractors. So we are building our own house up in the woods, and talked to my mom. She said, you know that I got a phone call last night about 9:30, and Philip, my younger brother, said that the phone never rang, but she picked up the phone and she thought somebody was playing a prank on her. And said somebody on the other line said, "I am the invisible on Beachy of all things." Okay, and I thought,
We don't know
and
what
and,
that
and
means.
my and she said she heard like a bell ring, which could have been a silver bell. my brother said that the phone never rang, but she picked it up, and that was really, really strange. Two similar things happening in two different places, 350 miles apart. The next night, I went to sleep in my regular bedroom, and I was sleeping on the bottom part of the bunk bed, and I was awakened by this whizzing sound in the air going, whoosh, and I woke up. I turned over to look down the hallway, and there was nothing there. I thought my imagination or it was a dream or something. So rolled over onto my left hand side, and then the bottom of the bed was pushed two distinct times. Push, push. Okay. And I'm thinking, okay, this is Southern California.
Maybe it's an
Maybe it's an earthquake. Okay.
Yep.
I'm trying to be logical. My dad, my dad's a very logical guy. Grew up in wartime England. No nonsense. So then I tried to go back to sleep again, and it pushed harder.
Oh
two
my
times.
Oh my
God.
Third
goodness.
time, it pushed even harder.
I'd have to
Yeah.
move.
Fourth time, I'm starting to get
This
scared.
is weird.
I'm starting to get annoyed and scared. And then I got 3 taps
Oh
on
my
my
God.
right hand
Oh
shoulder.
my God.
Just like a
Ghost.
finger.
It's a
Like a
ghost.
finger. I'm kidding you not.
I
A
believe
finger,
it.
just like an index finger. And
I'm
at
scared.
this point, I'm really scared and annoyed at the same time. So I rolled over and I said, "What?" And there was nothing there. And
Oh.
then I don't remember what happens
Then he
after.
blacks out. The family
Yeah, black out.
would always frequently have these things where they'd see something bizarre and black out, and they wake up in their bed 3 hours later. This is the
Well,
signature of the alien abduction
well,
phenomenon.
So
okay,
you
yeah,
think,
well,
but how do you know it's not a ghost?
Right.
okay. Here's the thing. The next night,
Yeah, he
okay.
has
Here's the
more.
next thing. Okay, yeah. Next night, I was scared to sleep in my bedroom.
Sure.
So I decided to sleep in the living room on the couch. I went to sleep in my workman's clothes because I was a cabinet maker. So I just went to sleep in my clothes, and I'm also a professional musician too. So I woke up about 5:30 in the morning, and I was awake because I looked at my piano. I thought, well, what am I going to play today? And I listened to the little fountain that was in the other room. So I was awake, totally cognizant of what was going on. And from behind me, from the front door, which is about 25 feet away, this tall being, about 6 to 7 feet, of blue white light, kind of skinny but tall, came like walking but floating towards me. It's like it was waiting for me to get conscious.
But
Oh.
quickly.
But quickly, within
Yeah.
about a second to 2 seconds, it was by my right hand side. And when it stopped in my right hand side, the whole right side of my body basically froze.
Oh my
Not
God.
in a scary way, but I had no sensation.
Oh
I
my
could
God.
not move the right side of my body. And sorry, I'm just getting over this, pneumonia like I told you
Oh
about.
no, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
Take your
Oh
Yeah,
no, you're
that's why
time.
we had to
still.
that's why you had to cancel before.
Thank you so
Oh.
much for rescheduling.
Are
by
you
the
kidding
way.
me?
It's so
No
nice and
worries.
accommodating.
I
So
wanna
anyway,
hear
to
this.
to finish this encounter,
Oh.
it bent down to my right side towards my ear, and
Oh
it said
Lord.
to me in a whisper, it said, and I could not tell if it was male or female, but it stayed there for, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 seconds. I'm not sure. And then it went back out the same way it came in. By the way, the whole room was filled up with blue white light.
Yeah, like
When
it's
it
made
was,
out of
as
electricity
it
or
came from the
something.
front door, the whole room was blue white. It was amazing. And so anyway, it left. And then again, I don't remember whether I told my dad, whether I went into his bedroom and told my dad, or whether I got up again. I have that this
There's a
blank
blank memory there
But
again.
but what was really amazing was 6 hours later, I was getting hungry, and my dad was, so I was gonna go get some lunch for us. This is 11:30 in the morning, and I reached in my right hand side pocket and I pulled out the coins I had, which is standard American coins, and some nails, and they were all magnetized.
Oh my
could pick up-
God.
What?
I could pick up the coins. I could pick up the coins with the coins.
And the nails.
The
and all,
nails
Yeah.
was no big deal, but what the coins are supposed to be, you cannot magnetize U.S. coins, and I'm still trying to find an answer for that.
Because they
Oh.
design them on purpose so they can't be magnetic, so they can go into Pepsi machines and
Oh,
other
sure.
kind of
And
vending
Wow.
machines.
and the following night, I decided to go back to sleep in my regular bedroom, and
Brave.
my dad, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if it's
My-
gonna
my
happen
dad-
everywhere,
my
I'd be like,
dad-
bye,
I
Felicia.
I wasn't, I did not know what was going on. We thought it was the family spirit guide that we had
Mhm.
for 3 generations, a spirit guide called O'Glegley that many people
We're gonna
had
need a part
seen in the
2.
family.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so the next night, my dad was awakened in the middle of the night, and he saw this intense blue-white light coming out, filling my whole bedroom doorway. And he was going to get up and look, and he had a voice in his head say, "Relax, Jeffrey. Go back to sleep. Nothing to see here. Everything's okay." And he went back to
Whoa.
sleep.
Whoa.
I have no recollection at all that thing as
Of
far
that
as
night,
of that
yeah.
night. I have
Oh
no
my God.
recollection at all of that. And my brother had things happen to him. My
Yeah.
mom,
And let
even
me
my
answer
uncle.
one question they had, which was the reason we think of it that it's an alien abduction phenomenon was that we finally one of the families saw them.
Yes,
Philip actually
No.
saw the gray alien standing in his room, and
Oh,
that was one of the times he immediately blacked
a
out.
tall gray alien.
oh
Yep.
Yeah, one of the
wow.
taller ones.
The
And so we now
Grays.
know, okay, well, now we
So
know
many.
what we're dealing with because that, hauntings tend to be one location, but this was following the family, from England and to,
Germany.
all the way to
What?
California and up into Central California and Southern California. So it's not hooked to one location. It seems to
Right.
be attached to the family. And then we discovered when we started doing our UFO research, we're also UFO witnesses. That's maybe another day. But we started noticing right away that the abduction phenomenon is not what we all thought. We all thought it was like scientific curiosity. Maybe the aliens are just curious about us and they want to take samples from a cross section of humanity. But that isn't what happens. What happens instead is they find a genetic strain that they particularly like that meets their criteria, and that is the people they take again and again and again and again through their whole lives. And then they'll start taking their children and their children and their children. So we've come to believe that this old Glegley fellow that has been kind of around the family for multiple generations, going back 4 generations, we think maybe that this is the aliens that have been preying on the family for quite some time now.
Wow. So who was the first to come across O'Glegley? How do you have any idea?
That would have been my great grandmother. Her last name was Newman, and they came from Germany. I heard very little from her because I was, she. Well, anyways, I
But we
was
know she
too
was a
young.
old Glegley talker.
My whole family, at least on the Rose side of the family and the Newman side, were able to do automatic writing and spirit type stuff. And
You know what that is, right? Where they just start
Mm-hmm.
writing, not even paying attention to what their hand is doing, and they'll actually get messages and sometimes in foreign languages.
The auto
yes,
writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, automatic
automatic writing.
writing.
Yeah, I toyed around with it a little bit, but it got too creepy for me.
I can do
It's
it
like
too,
yeah,
but I
I
don't
toyed.
want to do
Really?
it.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I
I
bet it's
don't do
creepy.
it.
I toyed my sister and I toyed around with the Ouija board and
Oh
Oh, that
Lord, me
scares
never.
me.
I've
No.
never done
yeah, and you
that.
know what? We got
I
so
don't
we
want
got
no
so good at
demons.
it we could put our hands weren't even touching the planchette and it would be moving by itself. So
Oh,
we gave that up too. But
good. Thank goodness. So
but
do you
this is
think your
all
Yeah.
this
family
is all
brought
stuff.
this? Do you think you brought this energy on by dabbling in these
My
things?
mom
Maybe.
my mom told me about this stuff from being a kid.
Yeah, but
So
we don't know how it originally began,
the first
many
Do you
yeah
think
generations
you have
the
ago.
witches in
first
your family, or does anybody who?
could be. We do not know. I do not know that far back. I'm going to do 23andMe at some point and do a
Find out if we came
find
from
do some of that stuff. But I know
the old country.
from the age of 3 I was being visited.
Yeah, he had a being that would jump on him
Yeah.
playfully when he was a little
Yeah.
a
When I
little
was in my
child.
bed, this little invisible being would jump on my chest and my stomach, being kind of playful like a dog or a cat, but it wasn't a dog or a cat.
Oh,
Um, my brother, who was 6 years younger than me, he slept in our closet for about 2 years because he said that he was afraid of the little men that would come in the middle of the night.
Oh
And
so it's the whole
so, and he had
family.
he had other
Poor little
issues.
guy.
He had
And he
trouble.
yeah,
no.
he never became he was we believe very traumatized by these early experiences.
I'm
Like I say,
sure.
hiding in his closet for 2 years wasn't a good sign, but he was a brilliant man. But he couldn't cope emotionally, and he ended up killing himself and his mother
Oh
one
my
night with a
God.
shotgun. And
What?
yeah, it
Killed
was
his cats first, then he killed
then
with a
Oh
shotgun. And,
I know this
yeah.
gruesome
my
murder suicide that
Why?
only you
God.
think only happens on TV, but no, it can happen
December
Oh,
first, December
in any
first,
family.
December 1st,
it.
2017.
Oh, I'm
And
Oh
so
my God. I'm
sorry.
It
so
was
yeah,
it
it's
was
sorry.
it's
awful.
about 3 months after my dad had died.
Oh
Yeah, a
unnecessarily
lot of
to
people
Yeah.
probably
answer.
can't
So
handle this type of, these types of encounters. I mean, as a
yeah,
3-year-old child, I wouldn't be able to.
Traumatic.
Yeah. Well, how would you cope with that as a
and
Right.
this
child?
and
How do
this
you
is something that
articulate it too and make people
and you don't you
believe? Like,
don't you don't
Right.
tell your friends about this kind of stuff. It's
no.
like, they think you're weird, like maybe your mom is a witch
I
or
mean, do
maybe
your
you're
friends think that you guys are weird in your adult life or they're just used to you?
Or you find
uh
Well, I
people
think when
that
we came out with this book, we surprised a lot of people.
Oh, it was like your
We didn't
undercover
know you
work.
were that kind of people.
Oh gosh.
my
Did you lose
sister
friends?
my sister has since done a she's done a one
Yes.
my sister has since done a 180. She and her husband now live in northern England, and they are semi-professional ghost hunters. They got their own
Ooh.
website, and
Oh, can,
she's
we need to have them
she's
on the
really
show.
become very, very interested in this whole thing. When she was young, she really didn't want to have anything to do with it. She was turning up. She was
Was trying to ignore it. Yeah.
trying to ignore the whole thing, but since then, it's a
But they're
whole
all a
thing.
psychic bunch. They really are. And she's the sensitive of the two ghost hunters. She's the one that can feel their presence and feel, you hear that on their website. And
We'd love to have her
they're
on our
both,
show.
they're all so psychic, this bunch. That Stephen can read my mind. It's constant. I know it happens a lot with married couples anyway, after
Mhm.
you're around each other a long time. But he literally just pulls sentences out, full sentences or words that don't even exist out of
Yeah,
my
I
head,
did one detorpify.
Yeah, I was just kind of stiff that morning, and he asked me how I was feeling, and I was just thinking, is detorpify a word?
Oh, that's
And then he
crazy.
said, detorpify?
What?
I
And
know,
Yeah,
just pulled it right out
detorpify.
of my
That is,
head.
I've
That's
never heard that
crazy.
in
No,
my
me
life.
neither.
I know.
yeah,
Steven, do
it's
you
not a
think that
word that
you're an
exists.
alien? Do you think you
Uh,
have do you think you have alien DNA or do you feel like you
Well,
are?
let me put it this way: if all the missing time I've had, and if they do take genetic material, I would not be surprised
He
if
has
I
hybrid children, maybe, yeah.
do have some hybrid children. As far as being an alien, I think they're very attracted to people that tend to be more psychic, or have that ability to be
I
able to
think that's
tune
one of
in.
their criteria,
Yeah.
Benjamin, yeah.
I have the ability to tune into, let's say we're like right now we're in beta wave format, which is basically 30 to 45 brain waves per second because we're on the computer. Okay, but if you get into alpha state, you're between, like, 8 and 11 cycles per second, and delta is about like 2 to 4. So I think that what happens is that their ability to communicate with us is one of the reasons why they come at night when we're more relaxed and we're in a lower brainwave cycle. It's like their frequency. We take it as a given that they're 13,000 years ahead of us. We also take it as a
Right.
given that they are much more psychic than we are. That they haven't let that part of our God-given right as human beings to be psychic, to be able to
Yes.
communicate.
We think that
Is
mostly that human beings, our birthright is to a lot of these powers, these psychic powers, because as soon as you start working with Kundalini, raising energy stuff, and
Yeah,
chanting and opening your chakras,
Mhm.
these abilities start to become more prevalent, and we think that our I call them cousins, are the UFO flying people are cousins to us, and that they have just not let the ability completely atrophy like
Mhm.
we have mostly on the surface. So that's why they communicate with their victims telepathically. It's because we're similar species.
right.
But you
In
call
fact,
them
if
victims.
sorry,
Do you really think they're victims?
well, it certainly was. It was traumatic for our brother Philip,
Mhm.
and he we think it may have led to his death.
Mhm.
And it's, of course, it's a lot of people are very traumatized
Mhm.
by these events, and
Mhm.
it can damage their whole lives.
Yeah.
And then there's the actual thing where they're stealing people's fetuses.
Oh, Lord.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, this is also
This is
documented
really
stuff too.
strange, but it's
And so what, a
our
miscarriage would happen or just the fetus would disappear?
well,
I've
let me
never
tell
heard
you
about
about
this.
Jacobs.
Go ahead.
Wow.
There's a professor named Professor David M. Jacobs who, in his long, long career, he did 10,000 um, hypnotic
Hypnotic regressions.
regressions of abductees. And of those 10,000, 1,100 of them were women who've claimed that they were uh, abducted by aliens, impregnated by aliens, and then put back on Earth to continue incubating the baby. And then they take them at 4 months old. They retake the woman, and then they steal the fetus. And this has been documented even medically, where
Oh,
people have had ultrasounds proving, yes, you're pregnant. And then later the doctor says, it looks like you were never pregnant. They have literally vacuumed out the entire
whoa. And
womb.
at 4 months, you're attached to that baby. Are
Of
you
course, and you're
Yeah.
kidding
probably
me?
So this
telling
is a
people you're
tragedy, and some people's
pregnant.
Yes.
and some women's babies are all stolen away. Someone report it happening 4 or 5 times.
Okay,
So
all
all
right.
their
Okay,
children is
victims.
gone.
Now, yeah,
They are
Yeah.
victims.
got it.
Yes.
Holy
And
Yes.
we think sometimes they
crap.
take people and don't put them back. It depends on what their experiments are,
Oh
what they
my
want.
God.
I mean, that's what I
We
think a
don't
lot of
want to be
missing
picked
people
up anymore.
No, no. We thought it might be cool to get
Nope. Nope.
teleported up
Hard
and
pass. Nope.
we can tell our bougie crew
Yeah.
all about it,
Nope.
but we're good.
I'll stick to the
We
ghost in my
used
house. Thank you.
yeah, we used to have a different viewpoint on that, let's say
Yeah, we
20,
would want to
30
hold the
years ago.
sign up, take me.
Yeah, we were
right?
like that too.
Yes.
But not anymore.
No,
not
child,
after our
please.
research.
No. Oh
You know, like a lot of us
my.
grew up in the early 80s seeing the movie E.T.,
And Close Encounters of the
Phone
Third
Home, and
Kind. I
yeah,
loved that movie so much.
I
sure.
know. And nobody would like it more than us to really be in a federation
Yeah.
of planets and all that.
Just
But
have
That's
confirmation.
unfortunately, we don't think that's what's going
that's
on.
one of the rabbit hole things that's going around right now. We like disclosure. They're talking about that we've been part of a galactic federation since the year 2003.
Yes.
That we're flying around
It's out.
on four different starships. Two of them just happen to be conveniently named after two of the men on the original Majestic 12 committee that was set up by Harry S.
Truman,
Truman
yeah.
in the late 1940s because of Roswell.
So that's very
So
bizarre that
it's
the aliens are naming their spaceships after some of our
yeah,
generals from
yeah,
the
and
40s.
Mighty
we've
nice
been
of them.
I
and
know.
yeah, we've been to 26 different solar systems so far. We know the
Right.
planet where the reptilians hang out and where the tall whites, and it's just like what we call what we want to hear about isms,
Yeah, we call it what we want to hear isms. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
why does I mean, there was some disclosure recently.
Mhm.
And
yes.
we discussed it many times. Like it's almost like people are like, okay, yeah, we believe like there's life on other planets and aliens exist, and people just don't seem to care about it. It was more like a womp womp.
Like when there was that congressional hearing last year, I was riveted. I watched the entire thing.
Yeah.
Me too.
But it was
I
like
transcribed
it
it.
just seemed like it seemed like a big non-event to the rest of the world.
And then the news cycle just like went on. It's like, and
yeah.
people are like, are they hot and
But
rich?
let's get back to Donald Trump.
Something. Yes.
Well, in the original Project Blue Book and Truman and Eisenhower and they made the whole alien thing into a joke. It was part of their way of controlling the phenomenon. They would send these men in black. I know it's crazy, but they really were men in black
Sure.
that they would send to like say a small town that had a big sighting. And then they would gather all the information from all the witnesses for themselves. And then they would start this ridicule campaign. They would start making fun of them in the newspapers and
So
fun
sort
of
of
them on the
like
radio
a
and
mis and
laughing at 'em and
disinformation
stuff.
Yes.
campaign.
And the movies reveal the
Yes.
truth often, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
sometimes. Yeah, they sure do.
Sometimes there are kernels in there for sure.
Yeah.
But we think instead of coming from distant star systems, that when they are extraterrestrial here, it's just because they have come from Mars or from the moon or from somewhere else in our solar system. And our theories don't require them to have faster than light travel. They don't require interdimensional travel or time travel. It's just good old fashioned rocketry from Mars to Earth or from underground
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
launch their spaceships from there. We hear so many reports of these spaceships are coming out of lakes, up out of the
Yeah.
ocean, up out of volcanoes, out of the sides of mountains, out of the sides of mesas, out of the sides of ridges. It's like
So
they're
what, do
being
they
launched
live
from
in Middle Earth?
underground bases.
Do they live in
Pardon?
Middle Earth, or are they
Yeah,
propelled?
essentially they live underground in
Ah.
large cities underground.
in fact, you talk about Middle Earth and even the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
In Ireland, they call them the Tuatha De Duanan, or the fairy people that
Went
Yeah.
underground.
used to live on the surface,
Yeah.
and they were started to be having problems. They decided it was safer, and they decided to move literally to Middle Earth. So it's some of the stuff that Tolkien wrote about. he took from ancient
from
legends
the
and ancient.
legends, yeah.
That's right,
But the
exactly.
legends were based on fact that
They're based on truth. Yeah.
at one time the wisest, the gods, went underground to live underground, or the fairy people live underground, and we think they literally did. And they've been launching their ships, and that's why they've been with us for thousands of years. That's why they're seen 10,000 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
They're not coming here from distant star systems. They live here.
And that's why they are very afraid of our nuclear program.
Right, because
They're
they're
very
also
afraid.
afraid that we'll wipe not when we wipe ourselves out, we'll take them with us.
So, have you all seen the reports, excuse me, about alien life in Alaska?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes. There's at least two alien military bases there. And that's another bizarre
Yes.
thing is our government discovered these people like in the 40s and made a
A
treaty with them to
pact.
keep their secret for them as long as they shared dribs and drabs of their technology. And
Oh,
that was been the deal all along. And so these bases, a lot of these underground bases are run by joint alien slash US military personnel.
Even though we don't think they're actually alien, we also subscribe to the fact that there's quite a possibility that we were uplifted as a species about 300,000, maybe to 450,000 years
If
ago.
aliens are involved at all, we
If they
think
are
that's
involved.
how they might be. But and they are aliens to us now in that they've mutated from us for thousands of years. But when I see a gray alien in my mind's eye or drawings or sketches or whatever, I see a creature that looks a lot more human
Mm-hmm.
than any other relative we have on the planet. Our closest relative is the chimp, but we have a lot more in common with grays than we do with the
With the
chimps.
bonobos.
They stand perfectly upright. They move like we do. They're mistaken for children when they're seen from a distance. And if they're moving like human children, it's because they have the same skeletal structure and the same musculature.
oof.
Let's
Let's take a
take-
commercial
Yeah.
break. Oh, and we'll get
Sure.
back to this fascinating story. And I know we already need a part 2, okay?
Oh my God, yes, I must. Welcome back to Crazy Rich Neighbors. We both are so fascinated by this whole line of conversation. Going back to that congressional hearing last year, was there anything that you took away that was surprising? I mean, it was interesting, but I don't know that there was a big aha moment for me.
Right. Well, ufology circles, we know they have crash ships. We know they have biologics. And so we knew this wasn't news to us. But one thing that really was news that was a jaw dropper in that testimony was the two pilots testified that these UFO objects are following our military absolutely every single time we go out on maneuvers.
Okay.
Everywhere, all around the world. They're terrified of our nuclear weapons and they're keeping tabs on us and making sure we don't kill us all.
Well, thank God somebody is, because we
I
lost
think I
Lloyd
actually
Austin
feel
for
more
like how
comfortable.
many weeks was Lloyd Austin missing?
Okay. So you think they care about Earth and the well-being of humanity beyond
Yeah.
maybe their underground? Do you
Or
think
their
they
own hides?
Yeah, exactly. Do you think they
Well, we think they need us, which is what the whole harvesting of genetic material thing is. We think they may have become a less viable race living
Oh.
underground, and they need regular infusions of surface DNA
Oh,
in order to keep their populations going.
Yeah.
That's one of the possibilities for taking so much DNA, and they're always taking. It's almost always Caucasian DNA. That's another
Oh,
bizarre
shit.
fact.
oh,
Was, it's
Sorry.
95% of abductees
Yeah.
are Caucasian.
Well, that's
so-
racist.
I
Oh,
know they're
Yeah.
very racist.
We're only 16% of the world's population, but it's
my
around in the
heck.
90s.
oh,
But I
depending
think
who you
that,
talk
that
to.
if that's just
Nice
the
If they
balance
get
of
you,
one
come
get
branch
me.
of
I love
humanity
you.
that
Come get
goes
me.
away, you
I'll
know?
go with you. We'll make it back
And,
together.
and also, and also too, the funny thing is that it's been happening for a long time. If you look at the vampire myths in legends and the incubus and the succubus,
Mhm.
they're almost identical. They come in the night. They're very powerful.
They're very pale
They freeze you or hypnotize you. They take your genetic material,
in the form of blood.
sometimes again and again,
And
and
the
they can,
succubus,
yeah.
I'm gonna have a
they
nightmare
get
night.
pregnant,
That
you
could
know,
be why I always wake up exhausted. I could
what's
be
happening
losing
in the other
blood and
dimensions?
DNA in my sleep. That would explain a whole lot.
Yes. You just got to remember, boo, and report back.
How, please?
Do you dream a lot?
I do. And my
Mm.
husband
Oh,
always
how
has
did you say?
very vivid, violent dreams.
He's
Does he
Irish,
act
by the
out?
way.
Do you ever find him like punching something when he's
Yes.
asleep?
Yes. Once it was
Oh
me.
boy, that's not a good sign.
What does it mean?
And he's
Well,
and he's Irish.
There's actual there is that, but there's reports. There's actually studies that have been done that if a person acts out in their dreams, there's a higher potential for developing early onset dementia.
Oh, geez. And my mother-in-law has dementia. And his brother acts out in his dreams, too. Oh,
What?
Yeah, you
shiz
got
balls.
Really?
just letting you know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because I was a Chinese medical doctor. I pay
Oh,
attention to this
shit.
kind of stuff.
Oh,
So yeah,
man.
it's one of these things. Yes, it's not a good thing if you're acting out in your especially physically. It's
Yeah.
it's a sign.
Anyway, we rebuke that in the name of the Lord.
Amen, sister.
And we pray for our
Well, that took a turn.
Stop. I know. Jesus.
Yeah.
We heard that Florida's got one of the highest percentages of UFO sightings. Is that true? Am I hearing that
You
correctly?
know, lots of stuff happens here, so that wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise. But you
Wouldn't
know, in
surprise me.
Miami,
Stuff.
in Miami, I have heard of recent UAP sightings.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
Like at a mall or something, right?
Well,
Oh,
there was a
yes.
that,
actual
but-
sighting at a mall.
there was that. I don't know what that was, but then I also saw footage
Me
of UAPs in the sky recently. Multiple
Yes.
illuminated figures
Not
flying
really in South Florida, but more like in
I
the...
saw some in Miami, but
Really?
there could be more for sure.
Yeah, I've seen it on social media too.
Yeah, I definitely spotted it there.
Very, very interesting. So you've both been a part of Contact in the Desert. Are there any other significant events? And what is that event? And actually, why is it significant?
Oh yes, it's coming up in June again. We did it
Let's
the
go.
first year when our book launched, but we're not going to be doing it again this year because they only want to sell books from the people that are actually speaking at the convention this year.
Oh, okay.
So we're not invited back, unfortunately.
So what
Wow.
happened
We'll definitely
though?
be going,
But
you
tell
know,
us
to meet-
about it. What's
Like,
the
what
event
goes on
like?
there?
Yeah.
Yeah, Whitley Strieber is going to be there this time. So.
Yeah, we want to definitely go and meet. We met Linda Moulton Howe, and we got to meet some of our heroes. You know, I
David
got
Childress.
speak with David Childress, and we gave him a free book. You know,
So is it just alien enthusiasts?
it's definitely it's the real phenomenon, not like sci-fi about it. You know, it's people interested in finding out the truth.
Yeah,
and
the alien.
disclosure,
We
you
call
know,
them the
so, yeah.
alien. A lot of them are the alien curious.
Yeah,
So,
and Alien Con is another big one. And we're hoping to do that. If I think they're on the East Coast this year, but then when they come back to the West Coast next year, we'll probably do that one as well.
Oh.
We're mostly doing podcasts right now, and
Good.
you know, I'm also trying to build a following on Instagram by putting people's. Sometimes people are sharing videos with me or interesting stories or whatever. I'm just starting to post those things on the
What's your
on our
Instagram
Instagram
handle?
page. It's leslie.shaw.author, and the same for our Facebook.
Okay.
I'm just writing that down.
Excellent. I wish we had
Yeah,
more
we have
time.
a website too.
We'll
It's
do a part two.
Yeah.
whotheyarebook.com.
I know our producer Ben has a question for you, so we're going to throw it over to
Okay.
Ben and let him have his time.
Hey guys! I just had a
Hi,
quick.
Ben.
Hey guys! I just had a quick question. So, I know you mentioned about Florida and a lot of sightings over here in Florida. Is it anything to do with the water, the ocean? I know we don't
Yes,
know.
we see them coming out of the ocean a lot.
Yes.
Actually.
Okay.
And Stephen's actual second Stephen's second UFO sighting was one of them coming out of the water off
yeah,
the coast of Malibu.
that was with a witness. The park.
Another witness.
But it's off of Malibu, off the coast of California.
There's supposed to be an underwater. There's a bizarre underwater structure off the coast of Malibu on the ocean floor that looks like a Grecian temple almost.
Oh, wow.
It definitely looks like a man-made structure, and we definitely see USOs flying up out of the ocean. In
And
there.
so Ben, did you have a further question about the ocean, about like anything more specific?
No. Well, I was just wondering. I've seen. I mean, I was wondering if that's a main place where a lot of them either live or where they would go to. Just because I know we haven't discovered a lot of the ocean, so I'm assuming that that's actually a really good place for them to go.
Well, they follow our Navy, our military, wherever they go. So whenever there's naval bases nearby, or you're going to have activity. And we're like the Tic Tac incident, the famous Tic Tac incident was off the coast of San Diego, just south of us. So they're definitely out over the water. We think they come in and out of the water at will. So it's easy to ditch our forces whenever they want to that way. They can also fly straight up and out into space whenever they want to. It's called transmedium travel. They have no trouble going from space to air to the ocean, from the ocean to the space to the air.
Yeah,
And they're
there's
trapped
no.
underwater a lot.
Yeah, so they can travel effortlessly through any
Yes.
material or any matter, I guess.
Yes, we believe so.
Can
Yeah,
they?
they're seeing coming out of, like, for instance, Mount Shasta, the indigenous people of the area, like the Modoc people and some of the other tribes, have
They
been
say they
staying
see
there
a hole open up on the side of the mountain,
for
and the
like
UFOs fly in and out of it.
thousands of years, and it'll literally be like a duck blind. You see the side of the mountain, and it's looks like the mountain, and then it will just transform, and you'll see like a UFO, or they see sometimes like a squid type of thing come out. But a UFO comes out, we usually with light, and then it basically goes back to looking just like the side of the mountain.
Yes. The
Wow.
Archuleta Mesa is another famous area where it's the Dulce Air Force Base in ufology circles. It's an underground base that's had a few bizarre UFO situation things happen and alien things happen there. For one thing, we found out from the Dulce papers that a security guard went down into the lower levels of the base where he wasn't supposed to go, and he discovered a room full of vats that had infants in various stages of development
Oh,
that looked like they
God.
were human hybrids or aliens.
It's like a sci-fi movie.
So I think
Just
this is
like a
where
sci-fi
I think
movie.
this is where they're taking the fetuses when they steal them from the people, the women. I
Oh.
think they then put them in one of these vats and they finish growing them up inside these vats. As strange
Well,
as
they
that
are
sounds.
growing uteruses in pods, right? I think we covered that, and it's
Yeah.
online. I don't know
Yeah.
where in the world, but there's
Yeah, we're
some.
not that far behind from them, really.
So
Think
glad
about it,
I'm
we're only like
infertile.
about
Oh,
13,000 years behind, we think.
easy.
Or not even that. Yeah, with
Yeah.
our CRISPR technology, we're catching up pretty fast.
Oh,
Yep.
And AI,
Did
And
we
they
get the
crash their ships too.
did we
They're
get the
not
CRISPR
impervious to
technology from
crashing.
them?
We've definitely got. We think the microchip came from reverse engineering. We think the Kevlar is another thing.
Hmm.
What
oh,
was the other stuff?
the tubes, the photo, the tubes, the
Microcircuitries. Like we went from using televisions with tubes,
Right.
to these microcircuitry all in a pretty quick time period. I
oof.
think that's because they've reversed a lot of their technology to a certain extent. And we think they're sharing a little bit. There's like the treaty of the
Well,
Eisenhower Treaty.
you're hearing more and more. You probably heard in other shows too about star children, about people. The kids are being born that are
More advanced.
more
Just star
advanced and more alert.
seeds.
In fact, yeah. In fact,
We think
I
this is
saw a
what they're
video.
doing with their
I
programming.
saw a video about a month and a half ago of a 18-month-old boy, a little white child, who was sitting at the piano, just like a pianist would sit, and playing a simplified version of Claire de Lune
Oh my gosh.
by Debussy. Just of course he couldn't use his fingers completely. He had to use two fingers sometimes instead of one. But it was definitely
Well,
because I'm a pianist and a musician. So I said that's Claire de Lune.
and
He's
that
18 months old.
that would explain Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
People are,
she probably
yeah,
is.
or
Yeah.
all of these like what do they call them? Proteges or
Yeah.
So
Proteges,
all
yeah.
of us
geniuses, the child geniuses.
average achievers, we shouldn't feel bad because these
know.
star children have an unfair alien advantage
Yes,
to all
they
of
do.
us.
Totally.
That's right.
Oh,
Indeed.
Leslie and Stephen, it's been such a delight, and we have to have you guys back for a part 2. Just tell our Bougie crew where they can find you, and we'll be in touch
And
too.
your book.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the what the book looks like here. Let's get it where you can see it.
Yes,
Best
nice.
place to get it is on Amazon.
Yeah,
That's
Okay.
we're on
really-
Amazon and Ingram. But the average person uses Amazon more, and bookstores use Ingram more. And then it's also
in ebook format and Kindle.
yeah, that's right, in paperback and in Kindle as well, ebook versions.
Yes.
Yeah, we have way too much more to talk about, so we'll be in touch. We have to do it part
Wonderful.
2. Thank
yeah,
you.
we still haven't talked about our UFO
well,
sightings yet.
yeah, we'll
I
save
know.
it for
Well,
next
we'll be
time.
in touch. We'll definitely do a part 2.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lord have mercy.
That was so fascinating.
It was.
Oh my god.
I might be scared tonight.
I'm white. I should be more scared. They ain't coming for you. Shipples. Anywho, y'all, my Bougie Bible pick this week is yet another one of your very generous and beautiful Christmas presents. It's the Chanel eyeshadow. The Beiges is the name of the collection. This particular color palette is called Tender. They offer 8 different color palettes. Most of them, unfortunately, are sold out on the Chanel website, but they are so beautiful. The pigment is so nice and intense. A little goes a long way.
It looks so good on you.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad I picked the right.
Oh, you did. You nailed it. You nailed it so much. It's these pink shades. They're so beautiful. They're buildable, but a little goes a long way. Like I was saying, there's like a whole range of different pinks. And they literally glide on. They're so beautiful. If you're going to splurge, this is splurge worthy, y'all. It's going to last you a long time, and you're going to have a lot of different looks that you can get out of this. So check it out, Chanel.com or any of your favorite bougie department stores. They have it, babies.
Okay, so my Bougie Bible pick this week is OQ Hair, and it's this little lovely unit that I have on. I'm actually going to take off my headphones, and I'm the wig queen, y'all. I have I don't know, about 30 wigs, okay? I have a thriving head of natural hair under this, but I am on I'm on a journey to grow my hair to waist length. Yes.
Do it, mama.
But I have to tell you, this wig it just lays so great. I just popped it out of the box. I didn't do anything to it. I didn't cut it. I swear to God. All I did, I'm famous for like popping off on and off my wigs, right?
Yes, queen.
It's secure. It looks so
But that
natural.
you didn't have to style it.
No,
Oh my
nothing.
God.
I mean, usually I like to dye my wigs black. I like them jet black. This is like natural black, but like they have all colors. You can bleach them. You can get them blonde. You can get them any color, and it's just so easy. You don't have to do anything to your hair. I highly, highly recommend OQ Hair. You can find them on TikTok. This is one of the million, gazillion, trillion things that TikTok made me buy, and it is absolutely worth it.
Wow.
Check it out, you guys. OQ Hair on TikTok.
It's gorgeous. It really
Thank you,
is.
darling. Thank you.
What a show we had today.
Yes.
Oh, my God. So follow us on your favorite podcast platform to not miss an episode because, child, it's getting really good up in here, honey.
Yes, darling. And follow us on IG at Crazy Rich Neighbors and on Facebook at CRN Podcast.
And TikTok, don't forget.
Yes.
And
I have trouble logging into our TikTok. I need to I need help.
Okay, well, I
Yes.
don't have it, so I can't help you. We're also on YouTube, don't forget. You can email us at info@crazyrichneighbors.com if you want to bitch, you want to compliment us, you have a show idea, you want to be on the show, hit us up. Come on, do it.
And remember, if you have to ask who your crazy neighbor is,
It's probably you. Bye, Bougie
Bye,
Crew.
Bougie
Beep,
Crew.
boop, beep.
We love you.
Beep boop, beep boop. Beep boop. It's upside down. Bye.
Be good.